To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya of heaven, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya of heaven, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya of I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds. Winner of the best, to you I prostrate. You the supreme science, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are known. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior, having great compassion, the teacher, having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path to sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star and mirage of flame above them, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream of flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the full faults, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jono Zonje Jono Chanju Bado Dane Jazu Dagen Jezo Jebe Sonam Dola Binje Sanje Dubush Sanje Jono Zonje Jono Chanju Bado Dane Jazu Dagen Jezo Jebe Sonam Dola Binje Sanje Dubush Sanje Jono Zonje Jono Chanju Bado Dane Jazu Dagen Jezo Jebe Sonam Dola Binje Sanje Dubush.
I go for refuge in time and mind to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge in time and mind to the Buddha, the Dharma, and Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge in time and mind to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Severado Yamasonum Jederano Jeje, Pejas, Bonum Jeju, Chanam Jemadojo, Juran Batomotona, Medemba, Tebema, Mobra, Sheriff Sigim, Tona, Simjatam Jeju, Simjatam Jeju, the March, and Jusam Bonum Jeju. Pabia Kazana Jeju, when young and they were trying to do Roban Jetever. Ishibodom, Boba Sanjay Major, so number of Yanim, Kujata, Chomish, Kusumbam, the Bata. Subadaganya Mago, Sumabata, Menda, Pumbo, Canada, Gejana Mandama de Vanasha, the Javayo, no one, number two, Sibali, you will give. Isian Luzo and Devadama Jumata, the Javesan Jim, the Jilla, they are young and development. Yana Vanija, the Vesim Jatam Jella Sibation, or Sana Shubate, and the Dante Sajum. Kuchiven de and the one numbers of what a vision that Toma gave up and to give a Toma gave up to hands of the Manjeba Yonzo, Zoba Yonzo, Taba Yonzo, Chawa Yata, but then because you should remember what them. They don't want to tell you about Kavana, just so and get you what you Jim Lenny Yellow was a mission, the one about them. Yavacha was always on you don't know what you want me to do, but mention about them. Temba you what you want you go. Tawashimugin and then there was you what you want you watch on which you go to, but you got Temajave with you, charge of it with you. So now you be this year, don't you want to watch you to do, Kuno and Jimena to you watch him. Kangi and gender what you want, one member, Chavame, woman, the message. Giovanni Jimans of Sanyaman, but they're not chance. Page, I think, 412. Or 13. 12 list. So maybe I'm going to read from 12, page 412. In that things originate entirely through the dependence, such concept as self-arising cannot withstand analysis. So in that things originate entirely through the dependence, such concept as cannot stand analysis. So this reasoning of the dependent originations rips to shred the entire matrix of the false views. So there's two, conventional relativities, and then the superimpositions. Both, could not stand with analysis. So superimpositions is why it's not being able to stand with analysis, because its non-existence is extremely superimposed. And the relativities, why the relativities or the conventional realities cannot stand with analysis. Means analysis is analyzing objectivities, so it is not its absence of objectivities. So it, So it's that analysis is dismantling the conventional reality. So dismantling conventional reality does not mean that it's refuting. So dismantling means, because it's a composite phenomenon, it's relatively constructed. So, the analogies, the analyzing objectivities, and that's really proving it is a lie. It is not true. So it's, in that way, it's dismantling. It's not refuting, but it's dismantling. So entirely dependent such concepts cannot stand with analysis. So this reasoning of the dependent originations rips to shred the entire matrix of the false views. So in that, on the basis of this reasoning alone, things originate entirely through the dependence. From this case, the cause that effect arises. From this cause, that effect arises. So that conventional realities obtain their status as an existence and not through some other means. So this body seed giving rise the effect of this barley sprout. These tomato seeds produces the tomatoes. So that kind of relations, that relation has to be, that relation of that cause and effect is conceptually construct. Mm-hmm. So anything that conceptually construct, they don't exist by themselves. Therefore, the thought and the language, has to construct, has to create. So that creation's always found to be, unreal, when it comes to, things that you are analyzing objectivities. So, such concept as arising from self and other and so on cannot withstand analysis. So this reasoning of the dependent origination through mere conditionedness. So mere conditionedness. So now they're saying the relation of the barley seed and sprout is existing through mere conditionedness. Mere language expressed through the language is indicating, something that exists. Or your language with a language and a thought, and conceive and conceive and imagine something. It is, there's the indication from the thought, there's the indication from the language, but beyond that language and the thought, there is nothing. So So the mere conditionedness rips to shred the entire matrix of the false views, such as those that view things in terms of the arising from self, from others, and so on, as the defined above, the madhyamikas, which posit, right, mere conditionedness as the meaning of the dependent originations, does not assert intrinsic existence in relation to anything. So mere conditionedness, this very the kind of the term or the word saying the mere conditionedness merely exists because of your language, merely exists because of your thought. So that 100% is denying or refuting anything that is intrinsic. So the intrinsic, from the intrinsic idea, the concept, then there is, if things intrinsically exist, then how it looks like, how things exist, if there is intrinsic, then says things may exist by themselves, things arises from others, things arise from the both, things can arise from no cause. If things do exist intrinsically. Or things can be, happen to be exist miraculously by the snap of the Bhagavan. So Bhagavan says, I want this for this, I want this for you, and then things happen. So these are, kind of, they're saying that if things intrinsically exist, and all of them is really true. So, so when there is no such thing arising by itself, from others, from both, from without cause, or from not from the Ishvara, then how things really exist. And then it says things exist through mere conditionedness. So mere conditionedness as the meaning with the dependent originations does not assert intrinsic existence in relation to anything. Now 60 stanzas of the reasoning says that which has originated due to this and that. So which has originated due to this and that has not done so through its own essence. So that which has originated, the concept of is due to this concept of West has not done so through its own essence, so which means the is and West do not exist by themselves. There is no such thing from the soil, from the land, from any kind of mark by itself, and it, happen to be existing, the is, and and then after that, and then we decide which one is the best, and then we can just mark on something, or this tree, or that kind of rock, So there is no such thing that is intrinsic, or the directions do not exist from the land, not existing from any space or the soil or any indications, any marks. So directions existing by constructing the is, and that originate the West. Constructing the West, that originate the East. Constructing the short, that that originate the tall. Constructing the favorable, and that unfavorable. So that means
things do not exist by their own essence. So again, going back saying that mere conditionedness, And how can that which has not arisen through its own essence be called arisen? So now that there was, Nagarjuna 60 senses. Nagarjuna says, in what sense we can think something has arisen? So the question is, through its own essence be called, which has not arisen, through its own essence be called arisens. So usually we think there is a reason, not a reason effect, because this effect has arises, right? This effect has arisen, it arises from that. So now say this yogurt is arisen, arising from that milk. So when you language, the language indicates the yogurt is something different from the milk that yogurt is coming from. So there is no yogurt that different from its milk. So yogurt was not there during the milk or within the milk. So and now saying, in what sense we can say this yogurt has arisen? And what base? So objectively, there's no way you can find anything arisen, because therefore we have to rely on language and the concept. So the language and the concept say, yes, I have already imagined, I have conceived the relation of the yogurt and milk. I have this conceived and imagined there's the relation with barley seed and sprout, and there's a present and the past, future and the present, the relation that I have imagined, I have projected. So that projections, it is not against the reality, it's not against the emptiness. So projection is not against, the projection is not against the ultimate nature. So ultimate nature say there's nothing intrinsic. And projection says, yes, therefore, there's no intrinsic, so therefore we project. It has to be, it has to be made. It has to be constant. If already there, then why do you need the language to indicate? If things do exist by their own essence, then it's no longer language and the concept has power to create things. So, as Nagarjuna explained, that which has arisen through the dependence has not arisen through its own essence, and so he asks, how can one say that the sprout and so on has arisen through its own, through its existence, through essence? How can one say that a sprout and so on has arisen through its own essence? I think, when we listen this, through the, when you listen the reasoning, and then it's, it sounds like, yes, it makes sense. But from the feeling, from our, how normal perceptions, so there is some kind of, there's some kind of persistence. Yes, there is, it has to be barley sprout, barley sprout is arising from means it's coming from there. If not there, how can it come from? So that your whole feeling, your whole, the what do you call it? Yeah, familiarities, right? All the familiarities saying that, of course, yogurt must be there in milk, so therefore you come from it. So now, if hypothetical questions, if yogurt is in the milk, and what base that you can think the yogurt is in the milk? Because the yogurt is the reason, milk is the reason that makes the possible of the yogurt. So then we go back, is it possible the yogurt still exists before the milk? So yogurt still exists within the grass, because these are the cause. The cow eats the grass, and then turn into milk, then milk turn into yogurt. So why not you can say yogurt is in the grass? Why not you can say the butter is in the grass? So then all the grass become the mushy grasses. Mm-hmm. So our mental mindset, I think mindset, right? More mindset. It's kind of, it's already informed, it cultured the mind. That is, it's no longer, it's not much, the mind and your mind is conditioned with this kind of habit. So therefore, your mind thinks there's no need for any reasoning. This is true because we've been, thinking about it. Not just me and my father and my grandfather, and whole generations from the beginning of the human being start. We all think that. Now, logic is against, that kind of, everyday, perspective or the perceptions, where you perceive things. So then you're in between pendulum. So you say the logic says this, yes. Oh, that makes sense, and our feeling says something.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That truly makes sense. So in the fundamental wisdom too, Nagarjuna explained that things are empty of intrinsic existence for the very reason that they are dependently originated. So the fundamental reason saying that what based on what reason we think everything is empty of intrinsic existence, Nagarjuna says, because the things are born from the cause and the condition. So therefore, it is not intrinsic. Now, that kind of, things are born from cause and the condition, therefore, is not intrinsic. And here, that, means the intrinsic things exist by intrinsically, inherently, means objectively means it is opposite of condition. Is by nature. So by nature is opposite of condition and creation. By nature, therefore, is not from the creations. By nature, therefore, there is no need to condition. So the condition is the valid reason. Things being conditioned is the reason or the valid reason to constitute things do not exist intrinsically. So yeah, very reason that dependent originated, that which is dependent originated, this has been declared emptiness. So which is dependent originated, this has been declared emptiness. That means is emptiness. Because this is dependent arising, this is condition, this is designation, therefore it is empty of intrinsic. The existing of the things has to be designated, or existing of that thing has to be constructed, created, conditioned, therefore it's not exist intrinsically, it's empty of intrinsic. So this too is designated as a cause. And this is the middle ways. That's called middle ways. So the middle way, the umelams, this is the middle way means this is how things do not exist from two extremes. Not from the eternal, not from the annihilations, free from eternalisms, eternal and annihilations. In the sutra too, it says, whatever has arisen from condition is unborn. So when the Buddha, so whatever has arisen from condition is unborn. It's not born by itself, not born from others, not born from both itself and others, not born from no cause. So that which means anything that arising or arisen, there is no arising of itself and from others, both and without a cause. And then why you say arisen, anything that is arisen from conditions. Why do you say it's arising from conditions? Yes, that is also possible. The arisen from condition is the reality, and the reality is not before the language, not before your conception. It is the reality that existing just because of the language and the concept. So that is the what you call conventional reality. So the conventional reality, you just make kind of you just accept it to be the object, or is a knowable object with relation to this language and this concept. So having arisen from condition is the logical proof. So having arisen from the condition is the logical proof. The meaning of the unborn, which is the thesis. So what you're trying to constitute is meaning of that unborn. Is not intrinsically born. Is not intrinsically arises, right? So that is the thesis. Is presented by the second line. It does not have the nature of arising. So that, from the first line, whatever is arisen from condition is unborn. So that unborn explained, described, says it does not have the nature of arising. So that what you're trying to constitute. And the second line, the sense, how's that? The sense here is not being born by virtue of an intrinsic nature. So it is not the case that no qualifications is applied to what is being negated. So, we have, so we have kind of, point out what we are negating. So it says, barley sprout is a subject. It not arises by its own nature, or barley sprout as a subject. It's not intrinsically arising, or it's not intrinsically arisen. And then the question here, the reason is because it is born from condition. So the arisen from condition is the reason. Therefore, the barley sprout is not intrinsically arises, or barley sprout is not arises by its own virtue. So the subject is the barley sprout. The the thesis, or what be the main establishment, what you're trying to constitute is barley sprout not arisen by itself or from both or without cause. Therefore, barley sprout is not intrinsically arise. So I think maybe we need to we need to find the exact the definitions, how you define the intrinsic. Intrinsic. Now here we are supposing that intrinsic and inherent by nature are the synonyms. Right? Intrinsic, if something is intrinsic, means it is something is already there, independent by itself. So, and which means it's in here with something. So, which means there's no need to condition. There's no need to create or construct or project. So I think, so this is kind of, the negation element that we have qualified through saying that intrinsically arising or inherently arising or by nature something arise or arisen is the negation element that we are negating. Specifically negating that. So we are not negating the sprout or effect or cause, nothing, So no negate. Only we negate. Negations here is things happen by nature. Things happen, inherently, or things are in the inherent nature. Things are in the intrinsic nature. So, this is the clear from the Descent into Lanka Sutra by Buddha, as cited in the clear words, the Chandrakiti text. So, where the Buddha himself explained his intentions. So now Buddha has to explain his intentions. So why Buddha has to explain his intentions? Because in the sutra there says, whatever has arisen from condition is unborn. And right after that, Buddha explained, it does not have the nature of arising. That is his intentions. Things do not have the nature of arising. by nature. Yeah. So, and the Buddha says, Mahamati, little symbol. It looks like it's referring to magician or something. Mahamati, with the intention that they did not arise intrinsically, I have taught that all phenomena are unborn. So what I meant, in Hat Sutta, there's no form, sound, smell, taste, textures. There's no I element there's no mental element. So which means, Buddha says, I have taught that all phenomena are unborn because they do not arise intrinsically. So with his heart enthralled, right, by the Buddha's teaching. So now this is Nagarjuna, enthralled by the Buddha's teachings, that it's true, this very reasoning of dependent originations. So Nagarjuna and all these great masters, they says, it's something that is very, fascinating or very interesting, in your teaching, because you says, because of things arisen from the condition, therefore nothing intrinsically exists. That fascinates, that kind of fascinating to the Nagarjunas and Chandrakritis, the Buddha Palitas. So Lama Tsongkhapa, even he's make the praises to the Buddha Shakyamuni based on the dependent originations. So he says, this was great teaching. With this, this is you taught. You have, revealed that, discovered that by your own experience. So this is something, something unique, because these dependent originations that refuting the intrinsic property is opening the gateway for the liberation in enlightenment. Through that dependent originations, I can see possibility of the Buddhahood in the liberations. So without that, I just believe, I imagine, the culture may followed. With this dependent originations, I can see it is possible. So therefore, dependent originations is the best, the valid reasoning for refuting intrinsic property, the sovereign among all reasoning. So this is the king of the reasoning. That intrinsic existence is to be negated. Nagarjuna, in his numerous work, such as Fundamental Wisdom and the 60 Standards of the Reasoning, praise the Buddha for having taught dependent originations. So no intelligent persons would utter any foolishness such as because things arose through the dependence, they are not produced. Now, Lama Tsongkhapa, kind of trying to patch up that saying that, when Buddha says, Buddha, explain his own word, which means Buddha says, unborn means not born by nature. That implies, yes, the born from the cause and the conditions is relatively exist. Is relatively exist. So, so you cannot just, contaminate the teaching by saying, because things arose through the dependence, therefore they are not produced, they are not exist. So that is, so no intelligent person would utter any foolishness such as, because their things arose through the dependence, they are not produced. So long as one does not accept the intrinsic existence of the entities, how could something devoid of intrinsic existence arises from itself, from something other, and so on? On the other hand, were there something that exists by virtue of intrinsic nature, its arising must be naturally in a spontaneous manner. So anything that is, like for example, you and the light, sunlight, so you didn't do anything, you didn't really prepare, but sun automatically by itself, it rises and it casts the light on you. It is not because of you, right? You did not do it. So if things arises, any kind of effect arises by itself, which means, there's no need any cosmic condition, to make that happen, because it is coming by itself. So coming by itself and coming from others, as I mentioned, if you call it other, they're different. So the barley sprout is different from the barley seed, because barley seed is cause, barley sprout is the effect. The cause and the effect, therefore, is different. And yesterday yourself and today yourself is also, you have to say, different. I'm different from yesterday myself. Yesterday person, I'm different from tomorrow myself. And then, the person who has committed the crime and the one who is put in the jail is a different person. So nothing, the barley sprout is no different from its seed. So another way to think is, barley seed is right now it turned into the barley sprout. So why barley sprout is different from the seed? And the seed is right now in, with condition it become the sprout. The milk is with condition it become the yogurt. Why this yogurt is different from the milk? So naturally, in a spontaneous manners, spontaneous means without any help, others, So from itself, from others, and from Ishvara, and so on. It would also be possible to conceive such a thing in terms of the permanence in the sense of non-disintegrations of what has arisen. Yeah, so that's the, if things really, so now saying, if things do exist by their own essence, by their own nature, by itself, which means, it makes more comfortable to view things permanent. So that everything is permanent. Everything is, without depending on any other factors. It just happened by itself. It always existing by itself. So when the existing is no need, not depending on, no need any other cosmic condition, and to disintegrate is also not depending on any cosmic condition. So no cosmic condition can change it. No cosmic condition is making it happen. Therefore, it's more kind of fit with eternalisms. So the non-disintegrations, what has arisen, and annihilations in the sense of real disintegrations. Then, it is kind of, this. So because it exists by itself, now it is more fit to be believing, to be conceiving. It is permanent. Then, if you see that things that is arising by itself is, if you imagine this disintegrating, now it is disintegrate means become nothingness. Either you have to say it is permanent, or you say if this permanent nature is now, disappearing or exhaust or cease to exist. So it is not depending on any cause and condition, it just expired. Therefore, now there is no continuations. So that is the annihilations, discontinuation or the dissipations.
And only through language and conceptualization does it seem that way, that it just stops. But there are like other causes and conditions that are underlying or whatever it is that lead to something to cease to exist.
That this kind of here, the exercising that what if things do exist by themselves, by their own virtue, then the hypothetical, this hypothetical concept, view, it is then said it is more, now it is more comfortable in that view, is you can say it is permanent. Because, the things that is happening or happened is by itself, which means it's not depending on any other factors. So if without any other factor it happened by itself, why not it can stay forever? Because there is no cause and condition to disintegrate, to change. So now say it is more likely to, more likely to think, it is permanent. And if you, yes, it is the permanent, looks like permanent, feel like permanent, you have desire to be permanent, and then you also see with your direct experience, but things are changing. So when it change, so then you say, things happen by itself, but it changed. So now it is disintegrating. So whatever it disintegrates, the permanent nature, it has to be dissipated. Once it ceases to exist, it has to dissipate, discontinue, become nothingness. So now say, if you think it's permanent, there is a problem because it's against the logic. If it is annihilate, it disintegrate, become annihilate or discontinue, and it also goes against the logic. So wherever you, view, whatever you just, conceive things with this eternalism view, eternalist view, and always against the logic and the reasoning.
It makes me think about how the word that came to mind was like a paradox, kind of how, I had to look up the definition. Like it's contradictory. Like the point of it is...
Paradox and the Pandora box, this is a Pandora box.
Yeah.
So you can say, if this is permanent, I feel comfortable, but it's against the logic.
Mm-hmm.
If that is permanent, how can it disintegrate? Once it disintegrates, without depending on any cause and condition, it just nothing. It's vanished. So, it has no continuations.
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot just, feel comfortable with things when things disintegrate, becoming nothingness is not very comfortable, because everything is happening because something has disintegrated in earlier, So if nothing dies, no one can born, right? So, if the disintegration of the Sunday is making possible of Monday coming. When Monday comes, it began with disintegrations. Otherwise, there is no possible Tuesday come. So these are the continuations. Disintegration is continuations, not annihilations or not discontinuations. So you feel not comfortable, with annihilation. There is no comfortable in the eternalisms. So then says, now what we do is, you have to understand things relatively, then it makes sense. The relativities. And for example, how the relativities it makes sense. So if you conceive or imagines the east, the directions of the east is something inherent with some kind of rock or the soil or the land or the tree or in the grass, whatever, it is uncomfortable. Because when you're facing the east, everything is east. When you're facing west, everything is west. If the west is landed on somewhere, east landed on the other way, how you can see, right? When you're facing the west, I just passed one of the east, and now I find the west. So same direction, you can find the east and the west both. So the east and west is not really objectively groundable, but relatively exist. So the constructions of the mental constructions of the east, allows you to, construct or to create what is the west. So this designations is allowing you to construct or create something else, So this east and west is just because of this one mental construct originate another mental construct. It's not by the soil, not by the space, not by the air. So, and then also I mentioned that, the single braid, one single braid, have the, form, smell, taste, textures, separations of the color, smell, taste, textures, separation of the color, smell, taste, textures of the one single braid. So how it is, substantially possible. Substantially not possible. Physically not possible. Right? So then, if physically the color, smell, taste, textures of the one single braid is physically separate, then it has to be, separately located within the one braid. So the braid has no separate location for this color, smell, taste, and textures. So just for the relation with regarding the braid itself, there is no color, smell, taste, texture as a difference. But because of that, if you say there is no separation of the color, smell, taste, texture of the one single braid, it is against your experience. You experience separately. Now, the separation, how this separation is existing, then we say with relation to the eye, with relation to the nose, with relation to the tongue, with relation to the body, these faculties remain separately. With that relations, I would say the color, smell, taste, texture of the one single braid is separate. So the separate is something that is you created You just make it real with relation to the subject to remain separate. So, yeah. The hand with 5 fingers, a person with 5 aggregates. These are not substantial. This is constructed through the language and the letters. So there's no physically the person and his 5 aggregates, separately. Not physically there. It's conceptually it's real. So conceptually it's real means with relation to the concept, with relation to the language, it seems to be real because it just made up to be real. So this is because things arose dependence, So no intelligent person would utter any foolishness such as because things arose through the dependence, they are not produced. So long as one does not accept the intrinsic existence of the entities, how could something devoid of intrinsic existence arises from itself and from something others and so on? On the other hand, were there something that exists by virtue of intrinsic nature, its arising must be naturally in spontaneous manner from itself, from others, from Ishvara, and so on. It would also be possible to conceive such a thing in terms of the permanent in the sense of non-disintegrations of what has arisen. And second is an annihilations in the sense of real disintegrations. Such possibility do not exist for the opposite. So now you can also say, some of the non-Buddhist school, they kind of view that the person and the self called Atma, and then this is this never die. Atma do not die. Atma, so goes to the one life to the another life. So by that, by that kind of, when the Atma or the person itself is not dying, the body may die, the person is not going to die. A person is traveling from the one life to the another life, and leaving one body and getting another bodies. So that gives him the more comfortable in thinking, oh, Atma is permanent. And then this is, what is the definition of permanence? Permanence, the things that are not changed, cannot be changed, could not be changed by cause and condition. So if the Atma is, cannot be changed by cause and conditions, in what conditions that if, by worshipping the Bhagavan or Ishvara, how can he bless that Atma? Ishvara is not a condition, or Ishvara is trying to change things unchangeable, or, Atma is the permanent, knowing himself cannot be changed by cause and condition, by seeking blessing from the Ishvara. So that is, so that's what I'm saying. This wrong view is Pandora box, And then because of that, why they keep insisting, the persistently viewing the Atma has to be permanent, although it against the logic, like, when we say, in what sense that you can ask the Atma to change you, to liberate you, to bring you to the heaven or something like that. And in what sense? Because you are not being able to change by wind, not changed by fire, you're not changed by soil and sun. Right? There's nothing. No sickness has ever changed you, no aging has ever changed you, no birth has not changed. Now you want change from the Bhagavan. Even though they find this is the contradictions, so, and why they keep persisting? Because they do not see any other options. This is the one-way directions always, So why they could not see the another, how's there? The directions or another path, options, is because this is if Atma die with body, and then there is no next life. That's the kind of, So because they keep thinking Atma is permanent, if this is impermanent, then there is no continuations. But they always, but in their kind of, experience, their everyday experience, they find, they kind of, when they want the yogurt, they find the milk, which is not the yogurt, right? And then with conditions about boiling it, keeping it cool, and then wrap up in towel, and then they think next day, is something else. It's no longer milk. And do they think, are you still thinking that the milk that yesterday that you boiled and you cool off and you wrap it with towel, it become nothingness? Because it's disintegrations. And why would you think the Atma die with body become nothingness? So your eye consciousness is a witness. Things are changing or disintegrations within the continuation of the things that's happening. Without disintegration of things, you don't see anything that's changing. So this is what kind of, what it means, if things do exist intrinsically, and you will tend to fall on the eternalisms, and that eternalism also leads you to nihilisms.
So the relationship of cause and effect is mere conditionedness. That's the
so
way
that is the only possible that you can, there is no any dispute, logical dispute on that. So there's no logic can harm that relativities. So, yeah, and then right after this, Madhyamika standpoint rejects intrinsic existence. To indicate this, we say the Chandrakiti root text. Such concept would be in order if real entities did exist. Such concept would be in order if real entities did exist. So that no such entity exists has already been analyzed. Without such an entity, those concepts would not come to be. For example, without fuel, there can be no fire. Such concept grasping at the in terms of extreme would be in order. Such concept grasping in terms of the extreme would be in order. If one apprehend intrinsically real entity, so now this order means is this not so they're saying that if there is intrinsic phenomena, if there is something that intrinsically exists, then there is by itself, from others, from both, from without cause, from Ishvaras. So such concept would be in order if real entities did exist. Such concept grasping in terms of the extreme would be in order. So if one apprehends intrinsic reality, intrinsic real entities, that no such entity exists has already been analyzed on the basis of the reasoning outlined above. So without grasping at such an entity, those concepts tending to extreme would not come to be. So without grasping at such entity, so if you see things, everything is relatively existing, that the view of the relativities is not going to lead you, to view some kind of extreme. Then you won't view things arising by itself, by both, or from others, from Ishvaras. So Ishvaras is not from the God. Bhagavan has created, miraculously, created. So this kind of absurd, you won't think, because if you understand things are relatively existence, without grasping such entities, those concepts tending to extreme would not come to be. For example, without the fuel, the cause, there can be no fire. Without the fuel, there's no fire. Without the eternalism, extreme view, there is no wrong perceptions. So when there is extreme view, there's many, not just one wrong perception, there are many. Thus, by gaining familiarities with the truth of the suchness as set forth by the Buddha, the yogi who has attained the Arya path and sees suchness in terms of not seeing any appearance of the conceptual elaborations, in him the conceptualizations clinging to true existing of the phenomena, habituated to since beginningless time, will come to an end. So I think, so it's kind of here saying, when you have extreme view, so extreme views, kind of here the misconceptions, the grasping at, for, the intrinsic natures, when you have intrinsic, your mind is kind of tied up, or your mind is just hijacked by this concept, powerful concept that is almost 24 hours in your mind actively, and seeing everything is intrinsically existing. So, and then, it is almost like, inevitable for mind to not to think when they think about continuity. The person whose mind is totally hijacked by these misconceptions, viewing intrinsically existence, when they think, imagine the continuity, like for example, the continuity of the many lives, your culture, you are culturally influenced that you are believing in many lives, past life, present life, future life. Then you also think that, there's one such, me, that is independent and permanent, that has traveling from the past life to the present lives to the next life. So its information is not wrong, because your interpretation, the translations, because your mind has, you hire these translators. Said when there's the continuity, and there's one thing continuously, repeatedly existing, is means to you as a continuity. When you think about, arising from the cause, it was there in the cause, now it's manifest. Invisibly, the sprout is in the seed. Invisibly, the mango big tree is in the mango seed. The whole tomato is in there. Invisibly, all the yogurts, the butters and cheese, all in that yogurt. Invisibly, that yogurts, the butter, the cheese, all in that grass that the cow is going to eat. And then invisibly, before the grass, the seed of the grass has all carries, it has all the butters, the cheese, and everything there. And then it makes you more comfortable thinking that, before the God throw the seed of the grass, and he has all the butters and cheese and everything in him. So he was very, oily. He was, so his hand is very all oily to get the butters and cheese and this. So this kind of, because of this wrong view, it is totally, influence, impact, habituated. And then you inevitably, whenever you think the continuity is one single entity, the permanent nature is repeatedly happening. So that is, actually this is not the continuity, right? The continuity does not mean one single entity is repeatedly happening. So if the continuity of minute does not mean there's one time as a minute that repeatedly happening with each seconds, right? So that does not mean that today is the Sunday. Sunday is repeatedly existing with the morning 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So which means the Sunday has to be exist within that hour. Sunday has to be existing within that minute. Sunday has to be existing within that seconds. So how many Sundays you have? So this whole idea is, this kind of push to see and imagine, because your mind is still, under the force of the misconceptions. So we have to break that, or they weaken that misconceptions by contemplating and analyzing and again. So now they're saying, and how the yogi, the Arya beings, when they seize the emptiness, how do they see conventional reality? How do they see the existence of color, smell, taste, and textures? And now it says, a yogi who has attained the Arya path and sees suchness in terms of not seeing any appearance of the conceptual elaborations. The yogi, yes, they see the color, yes, they see this, see the color, they experience the smell and taste and the textures, they hear the sound, but they don't see each of those sensual objects has some kind of essence in it. So that the essence, having essence in each of the object means each of the object existing by themselves. That is the, conceptual elaborations or mental proliferations. Is it projections? So without seeing each thing's possessing the essence, in him, the conceptualization, clinging to the true existing phenomena, habituated to since beginningless time, will come to an end. So all this strong stream of this forceful stream of the misconceptions, and they kind of, relax. It's kind of stopped for a time because their mind is the wisdom that is powerful, very strongly convinced, deeply convinced with this, absence of intrinsic existence. So this is how the yogi sees things come to an end. For example, through the applications of eye ointment, some effect with, mydosophia, eye disease, could experience the effect, namely, so if you have problem that because of the damage in the eye or because of some kind of illness that influenced the eye sense power, so that you see there is no fly, but you see the fly. There is no hair falling, but you see the hair falling. So once you apply the eye ointment or any kind of medicine, and then medicine, gradually treat the damage of the eye, and then now you see everything is clear, and no longer seeing those the fly and the hair falling. So these are kind of here represented here is mental proliferations. So right now when we see the colors, we also tend to feel comfortably without any doubt. Yes, the color is there. Which means color has its own essence to be existing. The sound has its own essence to be existing. So this is why we always feel the sound is coming, from there to here. So that whole, sound is coming and some sound is traveling. Maybe the classic physics, maybe they think the sound is traveling. They accept the ether, right? The sound is traveling through vibrations. And then we say a sound is traveling through the vibrations, its sound is walking on it, or its sound is just under the vibrations, just, what do you call this?
Monkey bars, like
Monkey bar.
Yeah.
It was doing that,
Mhm.
or it's just on the top, on the vibration is walking, So it's traveling on that ether. So do they calling your name is coming towards you? And then when it hits your eardrum, it just faint back, fall back. Now I'm finished. I'm died. So this it's kind of logically there isn't no such thing can be really kind of. There's not much proof. Sound is first coming out of your mouth, and then outside the element traveling, So, and then it hit your eardrum and it died. Or you say it's the vibrations that you created, produced or generated vibrations. Now the vibration is the cause, to produce the sound. The vibration is hitting on your eardrum. And then says, yes, there is no sound traveling on the vibrations, on the wave. So the sound do not have any essence to be existing by itself. So Nagarjuna, saying like color, like smell, like taste, like even sound, they don't have any essence to be existing by itself. Is relatively, given a name and created and constructed as an object, as a nameable object. So ointment, effect, the disappearance of the perceptions of the floating here, it is not that floating here and so on he had previously experienced somehow transformed into something that now has different nature. It is not hair falling and the fly that you see with eye disease, with the ointment, and then once the eye has cured and healed and no longer seeing, is now you cannot say that the fly that I see may have transformed into somewhere. No, there was non-existing before you were seeing, and after the eye has healed, and that still is non-existence. So the main point is now in this whole idea, keep refuting this intrinsic property, and what you're trying to dig up, what you're trying to see. See, that absence of intrinsic existence, when you notice that, when you kind of come to have the taste of it, there is nirvana. So liberation is there. This is the gateway for the liberation. So this is why, whole effort, they're trying to convince, yes, there is, the conventional reality, but there is no intrinsic. Everything is constructed, created, designated, other than that, there is no such thing. Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
Because I've kind of tried to think of this before. So the yogi who has attained the Arya path and sees suchness in terms that there are no appearances, and you describe that as the yogi experiences sensual, seeing, hearing, experiences them, but they are not afflicted by anything because they don't see them as having an essence. Sometimes I struggle with that. I understand it, but like I guess I get tripped up because then I start to think, okay, there's still a experience of something that they are having as yogis. And I get maybe tripped up because I think, well, there's then that means that there's something there. But maybe, I guess what answers that is the thing that you were saying where it's almost like recognizing that they are just appearances, that it's just kind of like not even anything worth paying attention to. And so it's kind of like the yogi recognizes, oh, this is appearing, but that's not true per se. Is that, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's...
Yeah. Maybe it's like one of the example, like ordinary, very ordinary. There's two kind of, the dog, one that bothered by his reflections, in the mirror. So they try to, fight with that reflections. One dog that is, feel comfortable in watching that reflections. I wear this clothes.
Okay.
So it's kind of like, right now, the ordinary sentient beings is like a dog who is keep fighting with reflections. So every reflection we see has its own essence. It's coming to you. So it's not created between you and the and the object. Each of them existing by their own essence. So that is, we are, constantly, we are that kind of dog that bothered by our own appearance. So the Arya sees, feel comfortable that everything in the appearance is constructed, created, projected, designated. So they don't have any essence to be existing by themselves.
I guess I would just feel that the yogi would, I don't know, I guess have control over the appearance, maybe? Being able to kind of, if the yogi realizes it's not there, then lost my train of thought.
Yes, everything is there. The appearance is there, but the weight of the appearance, each appearance has its own weight, its own form. So that is due to the misconceptions. So the yogi do not see that each appearance has its own weight. It's kind of reflection like existing, And then another word is like with this, the inner, the derivative elements, within the body, and the contact with another outside the derivative element, and the contact, is not just one derivative element and the outside element just contact. It's not just that. And there's the consciousness experiencing that contact. And consciousness is not simply experiencing it. Consciousness was pushed to see things by the karma and your emotion. So now, what is there? So we're saying this is the derivative elements outside of the body. There is another derivative elements that constantly employing your karma and afflictions. Now consciousness see things. Consciousness is not out of its own will is seeing. consciousness was just influenced or forced see things with this emotional. So how can consciousness see things? So there's a consciousness of the Arhat and the Buddha, and consciousness of the ordinary sentient being. This Arhats, the consciousness, also see things through their sense faculties, the elements, and when the elements, the contact with outside the element. And so there is no any emotional, the influencing, there's no paint to the consciousness. The consciousness see things as it is. Now here, the ordinary sentient beings, through the contact of this two kind of elements, outside and inside element, consciousness were told or trained or habituated to see things. When you see, there's this appearance is with that appearance, like unfavorable appearance, or that makes you very angry, So this is that, and when we ask the question, unfavorable object, the unfavorable appearance, where it comes from is from the other person's, or his skin, or his kind of wear. The unfavorable appearance is projected from your own mind. So the ordinary sentient beings do not see that is the problem. They see the problem in that appearance, so which means appearance is bothering you. You project it, like a dog, they sees the reflections and it bothers the dog.
So be more like baby.
Beauty is Arhat.
Yeah. Okay.
Baby keeps saying yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any questions? Any other questions? Yeah, one of the unfortunate conditions is we cannot really experience how yogi, experience. So but we were trying to, we're trying to see that with my own sunglasses. So sometimes, I, during His Holiness teachings, His Holiness, sometimes he was kind of say something like the benefit of the emptiness. And he says, because of this emptiness, you meditating emptiness. So I may not really gain the deep understanding, but it's some kind of, benefit to my mind. It's like, your mind is just unleashed. You're just free. So then we imagine unleashed, dark. We don't see mind being unleashed. So, because it's not possible in our world, mind being unleashed. So the fruit, maybe I will read this, the fruit of the having engaged in analysis with reasoning. Now the benefit, the result of this, the analyzing on this emptiness. So ordinary beings are chained by conceptualizations. Chain here is bind or tied up, by the conceptualizations. Conceptualizations here is referring, seeing everything is intrinsic. Therefore, if things arises by itself or from others, or from both, without cause, or from the Ishvara. So chained by the conceptualizations, yogi who do not conceptualize, they do not conceptualize like things do exist by their own essence. So the ordinary beings are chained by the conceptualization. Yogi do not conceptualize, become free. Yogi are free because they do not conceptualize things, existing intrinsically. The wise have said that very cessation of the conceptualizations is the fruit of the refined analysis. The cessation of conceptualizations. So this is the wisdom realizing emptiness is some kind of, the understanding of the emptiness is so powerful. If you have meditate, if you have some kind of level of concentration in emptiness, then it's much, much powerful. Even there's no concentrations, it just, the moment it makes sense to you, it has already some sense of freedom, much, much peaceful, So even just making sense to you for a minute, from that on, so everybody. So yeah, the ordinary beings who have no knowledge of this ultimate nature of things as explained above are chained primarily by conceptualization, the grasping at extreme. In a contrast, yogi, because of their apprehensions of this ultimate reality, do not conceptualize in a distorted manner, so they become free. So therefore, the wise have said that the very cessation of the conceptualization, grasping at extreme truths, negating all their object of apprehension, is the fruit of the refined analysis presented by the noble Nagarjuna. Yeah, it's the refined fruit of the refined analysis. But still, yeah, so it's kind of, saying that. So when you understand this absence of intrinsic existence, and it kind of, that the moment that you reveal this, it is powerfully, impact in your mind, and right away it's weaken your misconceptions, right away it's, loosen up the intensity of the grasping, the grip of the phenomena, object. It just relax, bring the relax. And if you have, not just realizations with combining special intent, then the arhat is very close, nirvana. So, and 100 stanzas 2, Ayadeva says, if things exist intrinsically, what benefits exist for seeing emptiness? So, what is the, what is the benefit from the emptiness? If seeing through conceptualization, is bondage, and this is what is being negated here. If everything intrinsically exists, there's no need to think and contemplate on emptiness. The emptiness, there's no benefit. And if you experience by imagining, conceiving some kind of brings, discomfort and dissatisfactions, then says, yes, therefore, we're trying to, we're trying to explain this, the absence of intrinsic existence. So the point, the point of the mentioning emptiness is to set free your mind. Yeah, I think this everybody may agree that in that, this is which is very common experience for everybody. Some people, they still, some people uncomfortable, with thinking nothing, no worry, there's nothing, but still, kind of imagining something may happen, will be happening, or might be happening. That's still, they make them unhappy. There's no need any physical obstacles. Some by seeing and that are uncomfortable, some hearing uncomfortable, some interpreting, translating the meaning of the word uncomfortable. Some could not understand the meaning, uncomfortable. So there's the mentally is they're kind of always, it never really plays in satisfying peace. So, and now question that Ayadeva was saying, there's a whole, because more you imagine, think, each of the way of thinking has still under the, under the influence of the misconception, intrinsic. So this is why you are not comfortable. You're still bothers. You're still, not comfortable, 100% happy. And then just by seeing it, hearing it, it is the problem. And Arhat and Buddha always not happy. And why they are happy, why you are not happy. And you hear the same, you see the same, you taste the same, you smell things. But here, the inside your mind, they keep interpreting and projecting, inviting negative image. And something that is doing from inside, and everything that appears to the mind is projected. The real projector is inside, that project outside, and you're scared. You are threatened, you are afraid, you fear because your projectors, Sony company's projectors inside. All the horror movies outside. So that is a free projector. You got it from the previous life. So now you're still going to carry that projector in the next life. So you have an endless movie that you see. So I was saying, this is what is being negated here. Yeah, any other questions? No questions? You have questions?
Mhm.
Okay. Chanju Simjo Rinpoche, Maje Bana, Jejuji, Jevanyamba, Mevanya, Kono Kondo Perish. Onye Dawa Rinpoche, Maje Bana, Jejuji, Jevanyamba, Mevanya, Kono Kondo Perish. Pama Simjen Tamje, Dedan Denjuji, Yendro Tamje, Dado Tonga. Chanju Simba Kana Sushi, Tada Kunji, Molom Jujuji. Karera Vego Vishima, Penda de Voma Luju, Jerezama, Tenzin Jatuji, Shabe, Side Badu, Denjuji.
May the precious body mind not yet born horizon grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born horizon grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all father and mother sentient beings have all happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Intrinsic Gatso, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Maybe those class ends.